Trump supporters for a minute. I don't know who you are, and I don't know why you like this guy. He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot.
So they're saying it's the son of 40. Never forget Lindsey Graham's greatest legacy, his final achievement, obviously. Lindsey Graham's quest to sell Trump on striking Iran. This was extensively covered. Lindsey Graham has also said this about what to do in Gaza. This is before he even sold the concept of striking Iran by flying to Israel over and over again. So yeah, we will pour one out for Lindsey. You know, when you have a bunch of Mossad agents who work tirelessly to develop blackmail for the most blackmailable man on the planet, think about all of the work that went in to the Mossad blackmail file, and now it's for nothing. He's dead. He died. Like, think about all the work, all the tireless work that a Mossad agent had to go through to literally create and film and you know, facilitate. All of that blackmail is now for nothing. It's all gone. It amounts to nothing. All the videos he had to edit, all of that.
So when we were faced with destruction as a nation after Pearl Harbor, fighting the Germans and the Japanese, we decided to end the war by bombing Hiroshima and Nagasaki with nuclear weapons. That was the right decision. Give Israel the bombs they need to end the war they can't afford to lose, and work with them to minimize casualties. Well, can I say this? Why is it okay for America to drop 2 nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki to end their existential threat war? Why was it okay for us to do that? I thought it was okay. To Israel, do whatever you have to do to survive as a Jewish state.
Yeah, that's what, here's Lindsey Graham on Meet the Press in one of his 67 different Meet the Press interviews. Lindsey Graham is over here advocating to nuke Gaza. That's the kind of guy he was. That's the kind of guy he is. And we will not be letting Lindsey Graham get away in the aftermath of his death. We're not going to let mainstream media whitewash and launder his reputation because he was an accessible guy. Because remember, for a lot of people in the media, they care a lot about access. They care about their own personal experiences, right? So if Lindsey Graham is like kind to them, and there's plenty of people who will tell you like how kind he was, right? There's plenty of people who will turn around and tell you how kind Lindsey Graham was, how great Lindsey Graham was to them personally. I don't care.
Trump supporters for a minute. I don't know who you are, and I don't know why you like this guy. He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot.
Politician, okay? And if you're a politician, I care about your output. If you're a public servant, I care about what you have done to serve the public. And Lindsey Graham is horrible. He's horrible. He was a horrible monster. And not only that, but he was also a hypocritical monster, too. Here's a montage of what Lindsey Graham thought of Donald Trump before he became a lackey and humiliated himself. Remember,
I want to talk.
This, by the way, is the same Donald Trump who destroyed Lindsey Graham's best friend. So if you want to know what he was truly like in person as well, like what, if you can't comprehend that the most consequential element of Lindsey Graham's legacy is his actions that he took in office, even as a guy, even as just like a regular person, if you turn around and become besties with the president who destroyed, who constantly shit on your supposed best friend, John McCain, then I don't think you're a good guy at all.
He doesn't represent my party. He doesn't represent the values that the men and women who wear the uniform are fighting for. I think he's a kook. I think he's crazy. I think he's unfit for office.
and I'm a Republican and he's not. He's not a conservative Republican. He's an opportunist. He's not fit to be president of the United States. He's disparaged women. He has an 80% disapproval rating among Hispanics. At the end of the day, he would be the most flawed nominee in the history of the Republican Party. He accuses most illegal immigrants of being rapists and drug dealers. He plays into the idea that maybe Obama is a Muslim. 70% of us in South Carolina believe that Donald Trump is not a conservative Republican. We think that he's unfit for office, that he would be a terrible commander-in-chief. He doesn't have the temperament or judgment. I think Donald Trump is a political car wreck, and people slow down and look at the wreck, but they eventually move on. I want to talk to the...
Like, objectively, this kind of sentiment in 2026, can you imagine any Republican saying this shit in 2026? This was 2015. Now, we know that they were fake and phony and they were doing the same racial agitation that Donald Trump was doing as well. It's just the difference is Donald Trump was saying the quiet part out loud, whereas these guys kept it to dog whistles. Donald Trump was not dog whistling. He was using a bullhorn, right? But like Donald Trump made the Republican Party far more honest in their dishonesty, in their cruelty, in their senseless desire to destroy marginalized populations. Okay? That's it. And that's who Lindsey Graham is. An empty suit. An empty vessel who was single-minded in advancing America's death and destruction campaign overseas. I just woke up and found out Lindsey Graham is dead and in hell, but only for being a homosexual, so I don't know how to feel about it. That's crazy.
It worked. George W. Bush made mistakes, but he did adjust. I blame Obama for ISIL, not Bush. I'm tired of beating on Bush. I miss George W. Bush. I wish you were president right now. We wouldn't be in this mess. I'm tired of dictators walking all over us. I'm tired of siding with the Iranians and the Russians.
Thank you, Governor.
Worked. It worked. George W.
Pam Bondi, cancer announcement. That's what I heard. Hunter Biden says, when I heard about Senator Graham's death last night, the first thing I thought about was not all the things he said and did in service of Donald Trump. I thought of the time before Donald Trump when he was a brother to Senator John McCain. A time when senators from different parties could fight about politics and still be friends. A time when a conservative Republican from South Carolina could say of my father, if you can't admire Joe Biden as a person, you've got a problem. He's the nicest person I've ever met in politics, as a good man as God ever created. That is the Lindsey Graham the Senator Graham I will remember today. Not because I've forgotten what came after, because in that memory there is hope. Hope for a country where brothers can fight like hell over policy and still share a meal. I will, and a laugh, and the lots of people they love, I will choose to remember a time before Trump. See, this is, for those of you who don't understand, what this is just an unbelievably out-of-touch person. Hunter GPT strikes once again. Okay? This is just like, wasn't it great when politicians could just like laugh with one another? Who gives a shit? I don't care if politicians are straight up trying to engage in the act of fisticuffs, as long as my political agenda that I believe is truly going to materially improve the working class's lives is being enacted. Okay? That's what politics is. And these guys are playing theater. Who cares? Who cares if he was nice to you, man? I don't give a shit. If someone is an asshole to me personally, and I've made it very clear, look, I have more access to campaigns and candidates and politicians than I ever have in my career. And what do I always tell you? Some of them I like personally. But even if they were pieces of shit to me, as long as they're carrying the agenda of the working class, I don't give a shit. Put the policy in the bag. That is what we should care about. None of this other stuff. This isn't a game, okay? This isn't theater. This is real life. These people are public servants. They should be measured by their impact. They should be measured by the bills that they advanced, the ideologies that they advocated for, They should be remembered by that, their track record. Okay? This is even more consequential than, I don't know, like a famous baseball player passing away or something. Because at the end of the day, even then you reflect on their, their legacy by looking at their output. But like a baseball player is not bombing Iran. You know what I mean? A baseball player is not going on Meet the Press and being like, we have to literally destroy, we have to nuke Gaza. It's bullshit. Totally ridiculous. Lindsey was thanked by Bibi on Fox and called Patriot for being an Israel supporter so blatant. I know, we're going to talk about it. Hold on, we're going to get there. So just remember, it's like if you're a regular, if you're average Joe, okay, if you're a regular person, why the fuck would you care about if Lindsey Graham was nice to the people that Meet the Press or not? That doesn't have any impact on your life. You care about the policies. You care about his output. You care about what wars Lindsey Graham agitated to get us into. The last one being the quagmire that we're stuck in that killed a ton of Iranians, including 170 little girls in the Minab school, that has caused chaos all over the world. Till his last dying breath, as is reported, he was continuing, he was advancing the interests of American empire, which does not advance your interests. It's just death and destruction in the periphery and nothing for you regardless.
Republican lawmakers of the last 2 decades passing away at the age of 71. Washington, D.C. EMS dispatched to Graham's home on Saturday night for a man in apparent cardiac arrest. At 2 in the morning Sunday, Graham's office putting out this statement saying the senator died from a brief and sudden illness, adding Senator Graham's family appreciates prayers at this time and asks for privacy during this incredibly difficult period. Graham had just returned to Washington from a trip to Ukraine, seen here meeting with President Volodymyr Zelensky on Friday.
South Carolina, an open seat. At the moment, it looks like the Republican is ahead.
The senior senator from South Carolina served more than 30 years in Congress, more than 20 of them in the upper chamber, becoming one of its most recognizable members, even mounting a failed bid for president in 2016.
No one here, including me, ever expected to hear me say, I'm Lindsey Graham, and I'm running for president of the United States.
He went from political foe of President Trump's to one of his closest allies in the United States Senate, a persistent advocate for Ukraine in its defense against Russia. President Zelensky calling Graham a true defender of freedom, a staunch advocate for Ukraine, and a determined leader. In recent months, Graham also intensely backing President Trump's war in Iran.
We're comply with the law of war, but all hell's about to break loose on this regime.
Graham also instrumental in confirming Trump's Supreme Court nominees and mounting this fiery defense of Justice Brett Kavanaugh in 2018.
This is the most unethical sham since I've been in politics.
Graham spending more time with Trump than perhaps any other lawmaker, serving as a key advisor. The pair often seen golfing. Overnight, the president calling Graham one of the greatest people and senators I have ever known, and a true American patriot.
South Carolina's governor will now appoint an interim senator to fill Graham's seat until his term ends in January. Graham was running for re-election, so Republicans in South Carolina now have to hold a special primary to fill his spot on the ballot, Gio.
And Jay, this comes as there are continued questions now about the health of Senator Mitch McConnell.
That's exactly right, Gio. McConnell was checked into the hospital exactly 4 weeks ago today. His staff has still not said why. It's an unknown medical condition. His office continues to say that McConnell is getting treatment and that he's working on Senate business. The governor of Kentucky is demanding answers about McConnell's condition. And if McConnell continues to stay out and with Graham gone, that creates a numbers problem for Senate Republicans. They go from 53 voting Senate Republicans to just 51, Gio.
Yeah, lots of questions there. All right, Jay O'Brien, thank you so much.
Senator Lindsey Graham was as comfortable abroad as he was at home, visiting Ukraine just this Friday.
Older, but no wiser.
And using his bipartisan relationships and closeness to President Trump to finalize a new Russian sanctions bill he hoped would force Vladimir Putin to end the war.
So when I get back to Washington, I'm going to go with Senator Blumenthal to the Republican and Democratic leader to see if we can find time to move this Russian sanctions package that would give tools.
Dude, I think Nancy Mace is actually fucking insane. Like, there's something wrong with her. Because, like, look, you can't be shitposting like this if you're trying to replace Lindsey Graham's seat in the special election. Like, I think there's something truly in her brain, dude. Like, this is a crazy thing. This is some shit that, like, an anonymous shit poster on the internet or someone like myself would post. You know what I mean? Like, if your goal is to actually if your goal is to actually take over the role, how the fuck?
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Yeah, she's saying that she's running for Lindsey Graham's open seat now, like moments after he died. And you know, I just don't think that is going to look good for people that are, I guess, maybe heartbroken. I assume there's some people who are fucking heartbroken, right? Like, I don't know. I don't know, man. Anyway, let's continue.
To President Trump to help end this war.
Yet Graham died in Washington on his return after a brief and sudden illness, his office said. He served in Congress for more than...
Like the Republicans, are they even heartbroken? I don't know. I just, there's whatever.
30 years representing his native South Carolina. He was meant to appear on NBC's Meet the Press today. Instead, President Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoke in his place.
I just can't believe it. He was like a member of the family to me. It's very tough, actually. It's amazing.
Mr. President,
he was such an advocate.
I think America has lost a great patriot. Israel has lost one of the great champions of the American-Israeli alliance.
Graham first entered Congress in 1995 and was one of the House managers during the impeachment trial of Bill Clinton.
I have lost no sleep worrying about the fact that Bill Clinton may have to be removed from office because of his conduct. I have lost tons of sleep thinking he may get away with what he did.
When he joined the Senate in 2003, he made his name as a foreign policy interventionist, supporting the Iraq War and hawkish on Iran way before Trump's recent military interventions. As the Iranians claim the Strait of Hormuz is closed and fire missiles at US interests, Washington says the strait is in fact open as they launch strikes on Iran. The return to hostilities matches what Graham said recently, that diplomacy won't work, and called on Trump to go harder.
If Iran contests control of the Strait of Hormuz by the United States, we will obliterate them.
Graham was one of the Trump administration's staunchest defenders, backing Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh amidst allegations of sexual assault.
You've got nothing to apologize for. This is the most unethical sham since I've been in politics.
And despite being pro-Ukraine, he called on Zelensky to resign or change after clashing with Trump.
You're gambling with World War III.
What I saw in the Oval Office was disrespectful, and I don't know if we can ever do business with Zelensky again.
Like, he's such a piece of shit. Like, his claim to fame is like the spearheading the bipartisan effort as the Republican for Ukraine and like being tight with Zelensky. And the moment that Donald Trump turned on Zelensky, he turned on him too. Like, he is a literal demon, bro. He is just he was such a bad dude. Notice they aren't mentioning his love for South Carolina, Lamau. Yes, because he was like the foreign policy guy. That's why I have so much smoke for him.
For many critics, this was all an astonishing U-turn, because when Graham ran for the Republican presidential nomination a decade ago, he did not mince his words on Trump.
He's a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. And you know how you make America great again? Tell Donald Trump to go to hell.
And he claimed after January the 6th that his newfound friendship with Trump was over.
All I can say is count me out. Enough is enough.
Yet the man who...
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. Honestly, the only thing I know him for, the whole Supreme Court use my words against me embarrassment, yeah.
voted to impeach Clinton did not vote to impeach Trump. In Graham's final days, he worked alongside other members of Congress to convince the White House to increase its support for Ukraine. Meeting Zelensky in Ankara during the NATO summit, and again days later in Kyiv. The Ukrainian president said Graham was a true defender of freedom, and that America and the world had lost a determined leader.